Okay, hi. So welcome to Tricky Words. Some of you have asked for some advice about how to teach the writing of tricky words, and that's great. So that means you've been working really hard, and the writing also helps the reading. So even if your child is not at a real letter formation stage, just that process of following and looking at the pattern and discussing it will really help them in their reading as well. And tricky words, you have to make sure that they understand they are there to trick them. Phonics is fantastic, but not every word is phonic linked because our language comes from so many different countries and the words come from so many different places. And some of it is phonics linked, but the phonics comes later on in year 1 in phase 5. And if they're not at that level yet, they won't have learnt them. So with tricky words, we actually teach it and we discuss it and we show them different ways. So I'm going to do this week's, which is the word like. Okay, and this one is one that comes up quite a bit. It comes up quite tricky. So first of all, I would write this on my board. Okay, and we would all have a go at looking at it and we would all talk to our friends about it and see what do we notice. Different things that you can notice with the word like. So you might notice that it has one tall, one low, one tall, one low, and it looks like a castle. So shape is really good. Some children see in shape. So looking at shape of words and noting that none of those hang under the line will really help them. Once again, whenever I teach, I always teach on lines because it models where the letters come, and in year 1 that will be a real focus for them, and some of them are ready to already start thinking about that. So we've got 2 tall letters and we've got 1 long. Now one of the things that they'll get confused about is they'll go l-i-k-e, licky, and when they come to write like, they will all want to do it like this, because they know that this is the I. So we discuss that this is I when it means me and it stands alone by itself, and that's why it's a capital. And we would never have a capital in a word, in the middle of a word. They only ever come at the start of words and only specific words, only places, names, and at the start of the sentence. So we would say this is correct phonetically, but if you want to learn how to spell it correctly, which is what we're trying to do, this is what we need to do. And we would look at the beans and sausages, and I would say we've got a bendy sausage, and this is how we get our I sound. Now, once again, this is a phase 5 phonics sound, which the children won't learn till year 1, but we're exposing them and discussing it with them. There's nothing wrong with that, and it helps them to remember. So this is I. When we have these 2 together, it makes the I sound. Just like when we have the I sound like that, they are together and they're split with a letter in the middle. And then we would have 2 beans. So if your child really works well with beans and sausages, it might help them to remember the word by saying it's got a bean, a bendy sausage, and then a bean in between. It might help them when they're processing. All this we would be talking about in class. And then we discuss how tricky words have tricky parts. So as we were doing this, we would discuss how this bit here is often the bit that tricks us. And we would do something called a starburst. And this goes up on our display in class. And it would go like this. And I would also put one here because quite often they forget that. And it goes up on our wall like that. And it's just there to remind them this letter and this letter will trick them. That's the part of the word that will trick them. So it's up on the wall to remind them so that when they look up and glance up, they think, oh, yeah, that's right. That's the bit that always gets me. So talk about it, express it, talk about what's strange about it, talk about ways. Some children come up with different methods of remembering words. The way we've been doing it, where you've been cutting the words up and hiding them, and they've been bringing them back and putting them together as a puzzle, is amazing. It's a really great way of remembering the order. When it comes to writing, they need to remember the pattern to write it. So the process on, once they've read it and they understand the letters, is now remembering this. And I would always model the word that I wanted them to write. And that's where they've got it to copy. Now, cursive writing is brilliant because as they learn to write the tricky words, it becomes a pattern. And if they're doing it correctly, and this is why if they learn their cursive handwriting correctly and you work with them on the tricky word formation, if they're getting it right, that pattern will stick and they will start to write it naturally because their brain will have learnt the pattern over and over again. If you're teaching them or if they're doing it by themselves and the pattern is wrong or the letter formation is wrong, all they're doing is reinforcing what is wrong over and over. So tricky words and handwriting really needs to be modelled and monitored. And I would literally just get them over and over to keep writing those tricky words using their cursive. And doing different colours, getting little felt tips out and doing it in a rainbow colour, doing it with a highlighter, don't forget. This is really, 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 really helpful. Lots of you, and this is how I taught my children, we do dots. Okay, so if I was doing like, I haven't got a line there, let's do it like this. I would have gone, oh, lots of dots, lots of dots, lots of dots. But to a child that is learning to write and may have problems with space and seeing that just looks like a complete mishmash. And where do they follow? Do they just, they just end up, you'll find with them, they just follow the dots, but they don't follow it in the right order. Using a highlighter gives them that line. They can clearly see the word, so they're reading on top of it. They're seeing the correct formation. It's a lot clearer for them. They can go over with a pencil so they can see their work. It gives them a guidance and it helps with the fruition. If with that, and they're doing the word, and you do it with the highlighter, if it helps, I don't know if you can see that, it's very faint. Remember, you can put the little black dots for where they've got to start on the line, the little black crosses. And if you want to put a dot where they've got to go up to first of all, to help give them that guidance, please do. This is all part of the learning. Some children pick it up quickly. Some children pick up some letters quickly and others really tricky. And some really find it hard, but they can read them really, really well. So everybody's in a different boat. But it's about exposing them to it. And the more they practice the correct pattern and the correct rhythm with the letter format, with the cursive handwriting, the easier it will be. And they will just spell it naturally when it comes to their writing. It also improves their writing because they don't have to think about their spellings. So good luck with like this week. Let's see what sentences you can do. And let's see some cursive handwriting because I know they can do it. They do it with us in class. Don't let them fool you. Okay, good luck.